Hey everyone, welcome back to Apollo Art Analysis. In today's episode, we're going to be studying a piece by the career digital illustrator known as wiresandtrees in collaboration with the musician K2W0. And in this work, we're going to be looking at these brilliant colors within the composition. We're also going to explore the mythological trope known as the lone hero or the walker. So let's jump right into it. So whenever you first see this work, remember this lone figure walking uphill under an ethereal night sky here. Your first impression is likely one of awe or curiosity. We wonder what exactly is happening here. One of the first things I noticed when I saw this work is our subject's placement slightly off center here. This, of course, makes us wonder, even interact a bit deeper with the canvas as the eye is drawn towards there. And upon this, of course, the very dark background allows a brilliant light on dark contrast to accent form there. And so colors within this composition really exist on a diverse range of tones, but those are upon the main foundation of a blue and kind of this orangish red here. Of course, that is a complementary color scheme. They're going to be contrasting each other and kind of fighting for the viewer's attention. I think that's incredibly important here. Our subject walks from the warmer to the cooler region of the composition on the left side there. So there is this sense of transition. There's also this sense of weight to the composition as well. We'll go a bit deeper of that here in a second. And another thing I wanted to mention is the impact of texture here. We see this quite clearly, especially on our subject's form. But, even on the ground below, we have this very light, even pastel texture, if you will. And I noticed, of course, our subject is much more detailed than the surrounding elements in the composition. So there is this sense of rarity, which of course draws the eye inherent to that rarity, right? Our subject is incredibly ornate, is incredibly detailed. That is in direct contrast to the rest of the work at hand. Of course, you have all of these stars, those do draw the eye, but there is no doubt that our subject is just ascendant and extremely rare within the work at hand here. With this in mind, what do y'all think we're viewing here? Who do you think this subject is? I think that's an incredibly important question. I wanted to briefly go back and look at the use of space within the composition. We have this slant here, and of course, our subject is already taking that next step. There's a sense of implied motion and, of course, implied lines due to our subject's attention going uphill there. That also creates, like I briefly mentioned, a sense of weight to the composition, of course, on the right side there, which also is in direct alignment with the colors at hand, right? Most of our subject is kind of having that orange, and of course, standing upon the orangish red and moving into the cooler region of the work. I think that's incredibly interesting here. And there is no doubt that our subject is a wise figure of some kind or another here. Our subject looks extremely determined, like I said, already taking that next step and going uphill. There is a kind of primitivist nature to the work at hand, if you will, and it is actually inspired by Mobius as well. I gotta mention that, right? You have extremely detailed forms, of course, the influence of fantasy. It's absolutely stunning within this work, and like I said, there is no doubt that this subject is a wise figure of some kind or another. He's adorned with these incredibly ornate garments, and you get that sense of the tribal, you get that sense of the fantasy within this work. It's absolutely stunning. We always love to see it. So here we bear witness to the walker. The walker is the one who constantly searches in answers yet to be discovered, and I think that's incredibly interesting. Of course, there's that constant travel, that constant sense of exploration, and of course, always meeting new people and traveling to new lands here. That's pretty indicative of creation itself, right? When we create, we go out into the unknown, sometimes not even knowing exactly what will result from that. So we see the walker, of course, exploring and taking his next step nonetheless. And there is that constant theme of the search, right? And we see this quite often in mythology, right? You have the lone hero. The lone hero leaves the tribe, goes out into the unknown to hopefully find something of value and bring it back to the tribe. So we have this lone hero who, of course, goes out into the unknown, which could be quite dangerous, is searching for new things, finding new experiences, meeting new people. All of that is incredibly important and also a very grand metaphor to creation itself, right? The artist created this work in direct collaboration with the musician K2W0, and we see this. It's incredibly interesting. This series follows each individual track of a new album, so I think that's incredibly interesting. We ask ourselves, what will this figure find out into the unknown? And I absolutely love that multimedia work of expression, right? You have music, but it's directly tied to a digital illustration such as as this. There's no doubt that it gives a sense of life to the music at hand. Of course, when we listen to music, we're likely getting some, some vibes or some visions of some kind or another. But when that's attached to something like a concrete and present digital illustration such as this, there is no doubt that it gives an amazing spirit to the album there. So I think that's incredibly important here. And like I said, it is a profound piece nonetheless. Really hope y'all enjoyed today. Like I said, this work is a digital illustration, so was painstakingly painted and illustrated upon the screen. We briefly talked about our subject's ornate garments here, and so you see the details that result from the medium of digital illustration. It's just absolutely stunning. There is no doubt about that. Really hope y'all enjoyed today. We talked about so many different things: the impact of multivariant color, the cooler and warmer sides of the composition, the primitivist style, the influence of Mobius, all the way to the multimedia work of expression in collaboration with the musician K2W0. I really hope y'all enjoyed today. If y'all enjoyed today's episode, make sure to check out the original artist wiresandtrees and go listen to the album that this is directly connected to. You'll find a lot of insights and give even more life to the composition which we're viewing today. So, like I said, I really hope y'all enjoyed today. If y'all enjoyed today's episode, make sure to check out both artists. We have the digital illustrator wiresandtrees, and then we have the musician K2W0. So, if y'all enjoyed today's episode, make sure to check out both of them. So, my name is Apollo. This was Apollo Art Analysis, and I'll see y'all on the next episode. We hope you enjoyed today's episode. If you'd like to support our work directly, please check out our Apollo community tokens. Apollo Art Exchange is an ecosystem of art appreciation which elevates artists each and every day. Thanks for listening.